The interrogation chamber aboard the Cub warship Talon's edge hummed with the low thrum of contained energy fields. Vash, commander of the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, circled the suspended human specimen with measured steps, his 4 amber eyes narrowing in calculated assessment. The creature hung motionless in the gravitational restraints, arms spread wide, head tilted forward as if in meditation rather than captivity. They called themselves humans. Vash had encountered 47 distinct species across the spiral arm, and none had proven as perplexing as this one. Subject designation: Kalen, Vash began, his translator converting his chittering clicks into standard galactic common. You will explain how your vessel penetrated our defense grid. The human's head lifted slowly. His eyes, those peculiar forward-facing predator organs, fixed on Vash with an intensity that made the commander's dorsal ridge bristle involuntarily. This was the part that unsettled him most about humans. Their eyes tracked like weapons-acquiring targets. "I've told your subordinates already," Kalen said, his voice carrying an odd calm. "Your grid operates on a rotating frequency pattern. Predictable. I simply waited for the gap." Vash's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Impossible. Our encryption cycles through 17 million permutations. No species has cracked it in less than 4 solar cycles." "I didn't crack it." A slight smile played at the corner of Kalen's mouth. "I watched it. Observed the pattern for 6 hours. Your system is sophisticated, but it's still a pattern." The commander felt a cold uncertainty creep through his thorax. 6 hours. The human had been in their system for 6 hours, undetected, simply observing. Vash had spent 3 standard years studying defensive grid theory at the Cub Military Academy. This creature claimed to have understood it in a fraction of a day. "You lie to preserve your species' secrets," Vash said, though even he could hear the doubt in his own voice. "Test me." Kalen's gaze never wavered. "Ask me about your ship's systems, your weapons arrays, your crew complement and shift rotations. I've been watching everything since you brought me aboard." Vash felt his primary lungs constrict. Protocol demanded he dismiss such claims as psychological warfare. But something in the human's demeanor suggested truth, not bravado. The commander activated his neural interface, summoning Lieutenant Threx to the chamber. The young officer arrived within moments, his carapace still gleaming with the fresh polish of recent graduation. "Commander, this human claims to have observed our shift rotations. Query him." Threx's antennae quivered with amusement. "Commander, with respect, we've maintained strict information protocols. The prisoner has been isolated. Query him, Lieutenant." Kalen spoke before Threx could formulate a question. "Your gamma shift begins in 32 minutes. 16 crew members will rotate off the primary deck. Your weapons officer, the one with the scar across his 3rd optical ridge, he'll be replaced by the younger female, the one who's nervous about her first solo gunnery watch. Your engineering chief will remain on duty for a double shift because your plasma conduits are showing a 0.03% efficiency loss, and he's too proud to leave it for the next crew." The chamber fell silent save for the energy field's hum. Threx's carapace had gone pale, his mandibles slack. "How?" the lieutenant whispered. "I watched." Kalen's tone remained matter-of-fact. "Your crew passes by this chamber's external corridor every cycle. I learned your language by listening to conversations. Your routines became clear after the 3rd rotation. The stress markers in your engineering chief's voice told me about the conduit problem. It's not magic. It's observation." Vash dismissed Threx with a sharp gesture. Alone again with the human, the commander felt something he'd never experienced in 30 years of military service. He felt outmaneuvered by a prisoner. "Your species possesses enhanced cognitive processing," Vash said, trying to reassert control. "Genetic modifications. Neural implants." "No." Kalen shook his head. "This is just human standard. We evolved on a death world, Commander. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us for 3 million years. The predators were faster. The prey was more elusive. The environment was unpredictable, so we learned to see patterns. To predict. To adapt faster than anything else could evolve. Our survival depended on asking what happens next, before next arrived." Vash's tactical mind raced through implications. If this was standard human capability, if they all possessed this pattern recognition adaptation, "Command will want to dissect you," he said quietly. to understand how your neural architecture functions. They'll fail. No fear colored Kalen's words. Because they'll approach it as a problem to solve through analysis. They'll demand answers. But you can't dissect intuition, Commander. You can't break down thousands of generations of evolutionary pressure into quantifiable data, while your scientists are demanding answers through their instruments. Any human child could be grasping the solutions through simple observation. The human's words echoed the mission briefing that had brought Vash to this sector. 3 human vessels had outmaneuvered an entire Cub battle group, not through superior technology, but through impossible tactical prescience. Command had demanded answers. Vash was supposed to provide them, but Kalen was right. They were approaching this incorrectly. Your people, Vash began carefully. When they come for you, and they will come, how will they penetrate our fleet? Kalen's smile widened. They already have. While you've been interrogating me, my ship has been transmitting every frequency, every patrol route, every weakness I've observed. I'm not a soldier, Commander. I'm a scout, and scouts don't fight. We watch, we learn, and we prepare the path. Vash's 4 hearts hammered in sudden synchronicity. He activated his command console, demanding status reports. The responses flooded in with horrifying speed. 3 human vessels had emerged from null space at the fleet's weakest points that shouldn't have been identifiable without months of surveillance. Cub ships were scrambling, but the humans moved with perfect coordination, exploiting gaps in coverage that Vash himself hadn't known existed until this moment. You led us here, Vash said, understanding crystallizing like ice in his veins. You allowed yourself to be captured. I volunteered. Kalen's restraints disengaged with a soft hiss. The human had somehow accessed the control protocols. He dropped lightly to the deck, rolling his shoulders. Because someone needed to help you understand. Humanity doesn't want war with the Cub sovereignty. We want trade, alliance, cooperation. But first, you needed to grasp what you're dealing with. Not through threat displays or technological demonstrations. Through experience. Alarms shrieked through the ship. Vash's command staff demanded orders. But the commander stood frozen, watching this human who'd been a prisoner 30 seconds ago now standing free, unthreatened, educational in his very presence. Your fleet is intact, Kalen continued. My people won't fire unless fired upon. But command demanded answers about human capabilities, about how we think, how we operate. He gestured around the chamber. This is your answer, Commander. While authority demands explanations through formal channels and structured analysis, humans are already 3 steps ahead, grasping solutions through observation and adaptation. We don't wait for permission to understand. We simply do. Vash's mandibles clicked slowly, a gesture of acknowledgement among his kind. The human had transformed an interrogation into a demonstration, a capture into a lesson. And perhaps most remarkably, he'd done it without violence, without theft of classified data through technological means. Just watching, just thinking, just being human. What now? Vash asked. Kalen moved toward the chamber exit, which opened at his approach. Another system he'd apparently compromised through mere observation. Now you report to command. Tell them that humanity is ready for diplomatic relations. But also tell them this. We're not a species that can be contained through conventional military doctrine. We evolved to see what's coming. And Commander, he paused at the threshold. We're usually right. The human disappeared into the corridor, and Vash knew with absolute certainty that Kalen would reach the hangar bay, board a vessel, and depart without impediment. Not because of superior technology or overwhelming force, but because he'd already observed every route, every gap, every opportunity. Command would demand answers. Vash would provide them, though he suspected they wouldn't truly grasp the implications until they, too, had stood across from a human and realized the conversation had been over before it began. Some species conquered through strength, others through technology. Humans, it seemed, conquered through the simple, terrifying act of paying attention, and there was no defense against an opponent who saw your next move before you decided to make it.